There we go. We are live. Post zero. Hello. Apparently, you Yanks have daylight savings.
Oh yeah, lost an hour of sleep last night.
I didn't even realize we did. Like, I woke up and now everybody's talking about daylight savings. I'm like, wait, what?
Technically,
how freaking arrogant though is daylight savings? Like, you should go out and work or do things when it's light out. When it gets dark out or cold, you stop doing work. And like people are like, no, you're going to work at the specific o'clocks we tell you to. But in our benevolence, because it's getting dark, we'll change the o'clocks. You can still work as ordered.
Oh, how kind! It's like that Mr. Incredible meme where he's like, "Math is math." I want to say, "Time is time." Don't change. You can't change time for what it is. Anyway, I want to get into that.
You know, there is one state that is exempt from daylight savings time, and it is Arizona. Yeah. So if you guys live in Arizona, you don't have to deal with daylight savings time.
I live in Arizona.
I looked at like Arizona is pretty nice when it comes to the weather, right? But then
it's hot as fuck, dude.
Yeah, man was not intended to build in Arizona. It's like the whole state is like 140 degrees in the summer, like you die. Like I don't know how to keep that place watered.
We got to feel that last
I like
year.
it already. I like it already. I will never be cold again. That is one of my missions in life, my life purpose, never to be cold again.
How dare you, betraying your Danish ancestors? You crossed frozen seas and raided people, and now you're just gonna be like, you know what? I want to live in tropical
I was just taken from like Greece or somewhere where it's like, oh, we have this nice warm country, and then the pillagers came, and then they just took my ancestors and put them in the Netherlands. It's like, here you go. It's like, I didn't consent to this. I'm cold as hell. I don't want this. Like, no.
Yeah, are you supposed to be like hardy bearded Vikings or something up there instead? You're
I
all
can't
like
even grow a decent beard.
The evidence is mounted.
Well, neither can you, Hawk. So that's a good thing.
I can grow it. It just looks really shitty on me. So I tried to rock it for several years. I did the thing where it was like 6 months on, 6 months off, and it just looked like shit. So it's like, all right, fuck this. I'm just keeping it clean shave.
I tried.
It doesn't work well.
I tried to grow a beard when I was in Portugal, and it just didn't work. It just did not work.
I did a goatee thing in college. I have a little spot right here. It doesn't get hair, so I had like kind of a comb over goatee thing going. It looked really horrible, like stringy, oily, and then like we had our baby, and like I just stopped shaving for like 2 weeks. I'm like, this looks all right, and the wife likes the way it looks, so I'm just not gonna, I'll trim it eventually. I'm just not gonna shave for a while.
Wait, you kept it because your wife liked it? That's not red pill. The real red pill answer would be that if she likes it, you shave it off.
I kept it because I had a baby, and he just got used to it. Like babies like high contrast, like because they don't see very well when they're babies, like the dark and the light, So, and I'm like, he's gotten used to seeing me that way, and I've gotten used to not having to shave every damn day.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of babies, he just walked into my room.
Oh, I thought you meant chest. Hey, chest.
That timing, that's gonna be saved. Speaking of babies,
speaking of babies, as Bob said. Hello, sir. How have you been?
I'm doing good. I have no idea what was being said prior to me.
As soon as you popped in, Arch is like, "Oh, speaking about the baby," and he was actually talking about his baby. And then, as soon as you said that,
my door wasn't shut all the way. He shoved it in. Hi, Daddy, and comes like toddling in.
Oh yeah, no, wait. Well, you have teenagers too. You got them on both ends of the spectrum, right?
Yes, I have a 12-year-old girl and an almost 2-year-old boy. I'm not in a good place.
Yeah, you're on both ends of the I want to do things by myself spectrum. Ones that can't do anything by themselves, and then the other one that wants nothing to do with you at a certain point. So,
oh yeah, she's like, Dad, I'm gonna go see my friends now. It's like it's 7:30. It's dark out. We're gonna go have a duck pond. What do you do there? I don't know. And so I'm like, have fun. I've seen Turning Red. I know this is important to you for some reason.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Turning Red.
Mine are 15 and 17 now, so they pretty much have written me off completely. Whatever, just supply me with some money and a little bit of direction. I think I'll be fine. But
yeah, 12-year-old's off with her mom for spring break right now, and I was talking to my wife, like, this is a good week for her to be gone. Like, what do you mean? Like, it's her week. It's like, oh shit, this is good.
Yeah. When they first start experiencing that, they're miserable for all kinds of reasons. But
we were in Florida when that happened. Actually, taking a vacation with some of my wife's friends. We got a big Airbnb, and we're going to a water park that day, and so my daughter, like, it was her her first time, like migraines and pukiness, and like she didn't know what was going on, crying. Luckily, she had like 2 older women who could share their first coming of age stories with her, so she was well taken care of. And just texted her mom, and I had to do absolutely nothing. It was great.
Yeah, you're like, I'm gonna step out over here because I don't want to deal with any of this. Thank you.
Yeah. Then we go to a water park, and like she's not feeling good. She goes to hang in a medical office where like it's all dark and stuff. I'm like, I'll go hang with her. So I go and I hang with her, and I just read books on my phone the whole time and leave all the other kids with the other ladies.
That's right. Yeah. Now my 17-year-old's actually pretty cool. She and I get along well. My 15-year-old, he wants to get his private pilot license, so I'm testing his commitment to that right now because of the cost. But otherwise, they're doing pretty good. I'm hopeful that they continue to be as lack of problem and unproblematic as they currently are for years to come. So,
speaking of kids and things like that, Chesty. Before I get into that, unfortunately, this it's not even this past week. It was last week, March 1st. Akira Toriyama, the creator of Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Quest, Space Patrol agent Jacko, I believe he was called, and Dr. Slum passed away. And for many of us, and apparently even Chesty and also Arch, he kind of was our childhood. For some of you might remember, I think that was for us mostly like Hawk and Gup. Oh no, Hawk didn't watch Dragon Ball.
Yeah, I'm not an anime respecter. My friends are slowly trying to get me into it, but I just never grew up with it. So
we'll get you there. But I remember.
Did you also the character design for Chrono Trigger, like the greatest RPG there ever was?
Yep.
Yes. Yup. It is the greatest RPG that ever was.
They've never made a game as good. They've tried, and everyone's lackluster. Like that was the best game ever.
Mm-hmm. I didn't play it on the Super Nintendo, unfortunately. I played the remake on the 3DS. Or it wasn't even a remake, it was just a port, but it's goddamn good.
Yeah, I've only played on the Super Nintendo, but yeah, as a translation, I think they cleaned up a little on 3DS, but everything else is pretty much the same.
Mm-hmm. Well, that man was pretty much our childhood, and Akira Toriyama was also a man who was very much drawn to himself. He didn't do a lot of interviews. He was mostly focused on his work. And if he wasn't focused on his work, he was focused on his private life, doing his own thing, taking his personal time. So today we're going to go kind of into like, it's important to take your own personal time, but also a bit reminiscing on like the childhood of like Dragon Ball Z, because I remember goddamn well every day going, getting off school, sitting in front of the TV, waiting until Toonami started at like 4 p.m. in the afternoon. And then you get that awesome kick-ass rock intro of roided up guys beating the shit out of each other.
So, Toriyama didn't go to college?
I don't know.
Like his parents want him to, and like he's like, no, I'm gonna go off into the workforce. He'd been drawing like his whole childhood, so I think he got a job as an ad agency doing like posters for them. But he didn't like showing up early and didn't like dressing nice, and so he told him to fuck off and quit. And then he started his manga career after that.
Pretty much. I did read a couple of things about that today, where at first he did it for the money, then it didn't go that well. Then he started to take it more seriously, and then he made hella fucking bang. Like Dragon Ball is still like one of the most popular animes there is. But Chesty, how did you get into Dragon Ball, and what influence does anime have now in your life? Because the story you told us, I did think that was pretty cool.
Well, I first saw Dragon Ball, the original Dragon Ball, not Dragon Ball Z, probably in my my late childhood or very early teens was when I would have been exposed to it first. So I was watching like the Red Ribbon Army arc and that type of stuff, back when I was 11, 12 years old. So I mean, it's been a part of my life, forever. The Dragon, all of the Dragon Ball Z, the Z Kai, where they tried to trim out some of the side the side stories a little bit. The Boo saga, into GT, Super. So I've seen it all. I've seen every series and every episode. You know, and I'm 49 years old, so that tells you the longevity of it, and also, you know, the entertainment value I've gotten out of it in my life is immense. I mean, I've seen it from, you know, the very beginning to the very end. Most of it, when I first saw it, was the same way most of you probably did, was through Cartoon Network, and then through you know, the Adult Swim for some of the more violent stuff later in the evening on Cartoon Network, and then the Toonami block that they had during the afternoons after school. So, you know, if I wasn't taking a nap after, you know, basketball practice or something, I was watching the Toonami block, and that would be my afternoon entertainment before I either was done with my homework or I was going to start my homework. And, you know, as an ex, you know, I didn't see my parents a lot of times until a lot of that stuff was over with. So, you know, 6 o'clock in the evening rolls around, you know, mom gets home from her retail job, and, you know, my dad, you know, if he wasn't coaching a team or something with me on it, you know, he'd try to get in sleep every once in a while because he worked first shift at the General Motors factory. So he was, you know, up at 2 a.m. He'd go in for what was called third shift premium, where you got paid extra for any hours of preparation time prior to starting first shift, which would start anywhere between 4 a.m. or 5. And he'd work until 2 p.m. and then come home, shower, see us off the bus. And then if we had sports, he would normally coach our teams. So that was, you know, that was his routine and my routine. And this fit in, you know, very well, and provided me with a lot of, you know, entertainment and, you know, life lessons and weird stuff over the years, and, you know, awkward situations with older women.
Oh, do tell.
Taught me about that really early on, you know. Well, I mean, that was one of the big themes about Toriyama's work, especially Dragon Ball, where, you know, he always had older women around him who were always trying to, you know, Goku always had older women around him who were always trying to fuck with him. And whether it was to control his behavior or literally they wanted to bang this little kid because of his status, it was weird. But, you know, you kind of recognize that too, growing up with teachers who are a little too touchy, you know, girls in the neighborhood who are 5-6 years older, you know, who come around your house for no particular reason, because other than that, they're bored, you know, shit like that. And, but yeah, now, you know, that was kind of my gateway drug into anime in general. And then when my son started taking some interest in the culture a little bit, we decided that we're going to do we're going to do the tour of Japan, of the restaurants, the hot springs, and his thing of interest has always been the vending machines. I don't know why he's big into the Japanese vending machines, but he is. You can get just about anything out of a Japanese vending machine. That's what's interesting about it, is they have this whole culture kind of built around it. So we're gonna end up going probably for a week or two, sometime in, well, it would be 2027, probably the summer of 2027. And I've been using anime now, the subbed anime, as kind of a training tool along with Duolingo and Babbel to learn the language. And my goal is to be pretty fluent by the time, you know, we go on our trip. So it'll make things a lot easier, because the Japanese, you know, they buck the trend of most of the world. They like their culture to remain somewhat homogenous. And by doing that, they also try to avoid adding any outside influences to what they do on a daily basis. And that also means learning English. A lot of people, you know, they have a they have a general dislike for trying to learn the language, and they see it as a a thing that they had to do in school and not necessarily something that they wanted to do. So, I consider it respectful whenever I travel anywhere to learn, the local languages as much as you can. But in Japan in particular, it's almost an absolute necessity if you want to experience anything other than, anything off the beaten path. And we
can
won't
you
do some things. Right. Yeah. So that's the gist of why I, enjoyed Toriyama's work, is the fact that it introduced me to, a culture, an art form, a language, something to share with my kid. And that's important to me.
Mm-hmm. Like, did Dragon Ball motivate you to lift as well, or was that a bit later on?
No, I lifted primarily for sports performance. I never was the tallest person, and I played varsity basketball starting as a freshman. And mainly I did it initially to build up my vertical. I lifted heavily with my legs, tried to stay relatively light so that I had a good strength to weight ratio so I could improve my vertical. At 5'10" and a white guy, I could hang on the rim pretty easily, by the time I was 15, and that was because of lifting. It wasn't, that was the primary reason. And then that carried over into my other sports. And I like the aesthetic effects. And of course, getting girls younger because you're more developed. So like I took a girl who was a senior to her prom when I was a sophomore. And that was mainly due to the fact that I just looked the part at the time, because a lot of kids my age weren't lifting, and they looked significantly, younger and less developed because they just weren't using their hormones properly, I guess would be the best way to describe it.
Things we knew. We wish we would have done differently back then.
Well, that's the thing is, you only have so many opportunities for noob gains. The lifting term, NOOBGAINZ. And the best time to do that is when you're first hitting puberty, and also to continue doing it when you're older, our age now, to continue to lift, because it supports continued testosterone production. And so now I've got old man strength because I took advantage of my noob gains when I was much younger. So
neat. Dave, good to see you.
Hey, how's it going?
Nah, doing well. How did you get introduced to Toriyama's work, and what influence did it have on you, man?
I think, like a lot of people, Dragon Ball Z sort of showed up on Saturday morning cartoons when I had to be like in high school or maybe even younger, like middle school. But it was just so different than like a regular other cartoons. You didn't have people dying in it. You didn't have the sort of like conflict or people yelling. It's the anime is just a totally different presentation than like a lot of the cartoons. Even like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was really cool. I really like that, but something like Dragon Ball Z is just totally different in how it goes about, the way it stretches out these conflicts. It's kind of like I don't recall like a lot of stories having like an sort of continuous arc the same way Dragon Ball Z did. And it was I'm trying to think how influential it was. But it was really cool, and it eventually sort of got me into anime as a whole, which I've really enjoyed, and of course already playing a lot of video games, you're kind of get like an idea of Japanese culture, and that just sort of builds upon it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was the gateway drug for a lot of us, I think. And so for the people who have watched Dragon Ball, can we just agree that the General Blue arc was the worst? Can we just agree on that?
I don't remember it.
Oh, that was regular Dragon Ball, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. But it wasn't that. What was that when the first Kamehameha appears? When
Yeah,
Master
Dragon
Roshi first
Ball.
does it.
Yeah, that's with Ox King.
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
They need to get into Ox King's castle.
Oh yeah, and he first does it. And there's I think when Goku first does it, the Red Ribbon Army's like they're on a beach and they're being attacked, and then Kid Goku just sort of like doesn't like, what is he doing? Like, and like actually does it. Like I don't know if it was like his first try, but like he just sort of imitates him and does it incredibly well.
Oh no,
that
guys,
was a great moment.
We just went from a little nerdy to like 9,000 or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Over 9,000.
I like that. Yeah,
Actually, the original is over 8,000. Did you know that?
Mm-hmm. And it
I did not.
Wow. Arch, how did you get into it?
Not till actually later in life, I guess. I went to college starting in '97, and I was a nerdy, skinny kid who didn't fit in. Imagine that. And so I met another nerdy, skinny kid in the engineering program, and he was like, "Oh, they have anime club down in like one of the Welch building. It was like the chemistry building every Saturday, night or something. It was Friday night. I don't remember." And so we would go down and they would just have like essentially bootlegged anime, and we would watch a whole bunch of the cool series. I liked there were some Gundam series. I watched Rurouni Kenshin all the way through, and they let you check out stuff from their library. So I go back to this guy's room with him, and we'd watch all kinds of stuff, whatever we could check out. He'd make his own copies of it. I didn't really get into Dragon Ball until probably my junior year at college. I didn't make a dorm lottery. Had to get an off-site dorm. Had an Asian roommate, and so we played all the games on his computer and saw the anime there. And he watched a lot of Dragon Ball religiously, and I'm like, all right, it's pretty cool. And so that was my exposure. I already kind of knew what anime was because I'd been nerding out my first couple of years of college, and yeah, I guess my junior year is when I first got exposed to Dragon Ball. I don't know all the story arcs, just watched episodes with him, and that's kind of my exposure. Everything I know about Toriyama then is, just by implication. His name kept coming up like, not only a Dragon Ball guy, but like I'm watching all these video game guys. Like Toriyama did like, this artwork for this. And, I was reading like the history of Chrono Trigger on it kind of being one of the greatest games ever. And Toriyama's famous. And like, but I really like the musical score. I'm a music guy. And like, the two enjoyed working together. And the music guy, he made a whole lot of like other works. But like Chrono Trigger was like his opus magnum or something. He was so wanting to get that right. He was really nervous about it. He put like his heart and soul. He had like horrible like digestive problems. He had to go in the hospital for several months after finishing Chrono Trigger. And like that game, like you could really feel like people really put it all out there. Like Toriyama's artwork carried through. The music was off the charts. The story was good. Like, and that kind of connected it all together for me. Like all these guys doing different mediums and their art styles kind of permeating throughout. Like, I don't know. It's all kind of interesting to me the way it's all connected.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I watched a small little documentary on YouTube about Chrono Trigger, like the work that went into that, the headache that went into that, the reorchestration of music. It's like, what
just to fit a game like that into like one SNES cartridge too. I mean, like it was a huge leap over a regular Nintendo, but like there's still a lot of limitations in those cartridges and what you can and can't fit in there, and like the cuts they had to make while making the game seem so seamless. Like it's really a lot of good work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm glad I got to play it. Gov, how about you? Where did you get introduced to all of it?
Well, let's see. 5th grade. So I was about 10 years old. And I remember hearing these kids talking about the show. And I remember as kids, everybody played outside during recess. And they'd say, I'm going to pretend to be this character. You can be that one. And I remember they said, I'm going to pretend to be Goku. You can pretend to be Frieza. And you can be Vegeta. And then they looked at me and said, you can be Krillin. And I remember I didn't even know the show and I felt insulted. So I was like, you know what? I want to find out what this show is all about. And it came on right after I'd get out of school, and I'd get home and I was very sheltered. So watching something like that was very controversial at that time, but I turned it on one time and I'd have the volume real low and I'd be watching it and I'm like, this is pretty cool. So I started getting into it, started watching it more. I jumped in. I remember when Piccolo was training Gohan, and as a kid at that time, I didn't know what was going on. I was like, oh man, this Piccolo guy's really mean, but why is he so cool too? And he easily became my favorite of the Z fighters later on, I guess, so got introduced through that. And then I watched all the way through the Frieza saga, and then it all went on from there. And I think that's how I got into Pokemon as well, was being introduced to Dragon Ball Z And I was like, this Japanese animation stuff is really cool. And I knew my uncle was into it. He liked Sailor Moon a lot. So I was like, I want to find out what this is all about. Jumped into Pokemon.
That's a whole different different contrast.
Dude, yeah, no kidding. But I remember jumping into Pokemon, and that's ever since then, that's what I've been into as well. Like you said, it's a gateway drug show, and I kept up with it, watched it through Super. I actually have a friend of mine and I would watch it remotely. We would just click play at the same time and be like, all right, we're going to watch the next release as soon as it comes out. And we were watching the dubbed one because that's what we grew up with. So the sub Super was already out, but that was always just good memories in general of all of that. And so, I mean, that's what got me into a lot of other animes too. I mean, Tenchi Muyo is one of my favorite ones. That and Outlaw Star. All those stemmed from watching Dragon Ball Z as a kid at 10 years old, and to this day I keep that with me. And it inspired a lot of ideas I had as a kid too, because I was a big fictional writer. I made comic books as a kid, and a lot of the ideas that I had were inspired by a lot of Toriyama's works as well. The imagination he had definitely inspired the imagination I have to this day.
I mean, but that's the cool part about people like that, how they inspire generations, because we've got Gen Xers here and millennials, and it's like, what the hell? We grew up almost with the same thing, or at least something by the same artist, which makes connecting even more easier, which I think is absolutely amazing. And then we got Red Hawk. The odd one out.
I know. Yeah, indeed.
So what happened, man? What happened? What happened to your childhood? You want to talk about it? Like, we're friends here, man. We won't judge
here for
you.
Who hurt you, man?
Yeah, exactly.
Give it to us. Give it to us.
No, I just didn't really. The closest I got to watching anime was watching Yu-Gi-Oh, because like all the kids in my class growing up, like would bring their Yu-Gi-Oh cards to school and such. And we were like in first grade or kindergarten, and when people like when we had like I don't know, what would you call it? Like, I guess they gave kids like free time for some reason or something like that at my school. So the kids would bring out their decks and they'd play Yu-Gi-Oh. And it's like, well, all my friends are playing, so now I have to play it. And now they're watching the anime. So I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I got to go and watch this show on Saturday mornings. And of course, the cartoon was great. They didn't play anything like how the actual game was played. They're twisting the rules in like every single episode.
I will attack the moon.
Yeah, so there would be like fights when kids were in classroom, and I'd be like, well, they did this in the show. And it's like, well, you can't actually do that. It's not how the game works. So that's the closest I got to watching anime. And then just like in the last 2 months, I had a buddy of mine got me into watching Evangelion, and I finished that. And yeah, that's pretty good.
That's so trippy.
Yes, it is.
I still haven't watched
None of that show is about what it's about.
Yeah, very, very trippy show. But I understand why there's so many memes attached to it and why so many people like it, and it's got a big following. So, I mean, I would recommend people watch it.
Really,
so maybe I'll tip my toes in the anime scene more.
Really underrated show that was done mostly through Cartoon Network. That is also very trippy. Like Evangelion is Space Dandy. A lot of people really missed out on that one, but that is a really good series. Very, very existential, especially like the last 3 or 4 episodes of the series. Gets into some very metaphysical stuff. But at the heart of it, it's a guy who flies around the galaxy finding new aliens, and he likes to spend his time at basically is the space Hooters of the universe when he's not out looking for new alien species. Yeah, the place is literally called Boobies, which is hilarious. So it's tits and Kafka. It's very, very weird in space. So if you ever get a chance to rewatch it, or if you haven't watched it yet, it's very, very good, very underrated.
Probably actually was supposed to be like a Hooters parallel. Like they do, the Japanese love to like make fun of our culture a little bit.
Well, yeah, even now, you know, I go to my local McDonald's now, and they've embraced the Whack Donald's meme. You know, the WC Donald's instead of the MC Donald's. Yeah, so it's you know, you get your McNugget meal now, and it comes with you know, an Asian chili sauce in a Whack Donald's box. You know, and that was always another, you know, take on American culture that Japan's always done. They've really embraced it, but yet mocked it in a big way. And I always enjoy it when they do stuff like that.
Yeah, there's all kinds of little things like dropped out. And I actually learned something watching like speedrunners or something playing Street Fighter, and like, so it turns out they had to like shift the names around because like the main villain M. Bison, like that's not actually, his name was supposed to be Vega or something, and Vega's the claw person. But in the US, you know, like the boxer guy, he's called Balrog in the US, but like he was supposed to be M. Bison because he's like this steroid jacked up, you know, horribly aggressive, like, you know, black boxer, and he's like, you know, supposed to be an allegory of Mike Tyson, but they all that wouldn't play well in America, so like they swapped all the names around, and it really screws up like speedrunners. They're like, you know, they have to have a different name depending on what country they're playing in. But like, there's all kinds of little things like that where like they kind of like drop little tidbits and make fun of our culture like that.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I mean, why not? I mean, that's still going on. Who?
Yeah, I was gonna say, as an M. Bison main, yes, that's a very, you know, close thing to me. When people are like, do you mean Vega or do you mean M. Bison? I'm like, American Bison, please. Yeah, the dictator, the final boss.
To do with the hat, not the roided up boxer.
Of course.
I'm not using the boxer. Nobody uses the boxer in Street Fighter 2.
Apparently, like in the later Street, like it's Street Fighter 5 or something, or 6, like they made him like, you know, 5. Yeah, he's not in 6. They made him like really good. He was no joke. But like,
yeah,
you know,
yeah. They made him like really, really good. Yeah.
Or if you're a real masochist and you watch the really terrible movies, it's the Raul Julia character, okay? You know, and not the other actor in Street Fighter. You know, ugh, it's such a bad movie.
Oh
It's
man,
free on YouTube right now.
It is?
Yeah. I watched it the other night.
Oh, so bad.
Oh,
It is.
How much did you pay in Bison dollars to buy
For 5 British pounds right there.
Yeah.
You actually have that? That's
Oh yeah.
pretty fucking
Yeah.
dope.
There you go. Thank you. Yeah. My signed
What's that?
Street Fighter movie. It's signed by Ming-Na Wen, who played Chun-Li. It's Andrew Bernarski, who did Zangief, and I've got Damian Chapa, who did Ken. That's who I've met so far from that movie.
Nice.
the fact that they made that movie is an atrocity.
Man, where is Robert Kuzlin when you need him? Because I'm sure he would pull out like a limited edition, first ever in Japanese Street Fighter movie from his desk of wonders. You know?
I mean, Robert is always welcome.
Yeah, apparently Street Fighter 2 that made the whole like franchise famous, like apparently occurs outside a timeline or something. It's a game that makes no sense in the whole story arc they were trying to tell, but like it's the one that launched it and made it famous was in every arcade. Like in Street Fighter 1, like Ryu's the one who ends up winning the championship, and like he's about to get taken over, like he Sagat betrays Bison, then he's like, you know, he's like stolen by Bison's team in Street Fighter 2, and nothing makes sense. They're having another competition for no particular reason, but it's just really popular in the arcades.
It's just like Tekken. It's like, oh, there's another King of Iron Fist tournament. Got another one coming. Here we go. Heihachi's still alive somehow, you know, and you know.
Oh, they've been doing that with Mortal Kombat recently. They've done 3 Mortal Kombat reboots at this point, and 2 of them have occurred in the last 4 years, and it's so fucking stupid. It's awful.
Tiresome. It's so tiresome.
You know,
Gotta make
sort of
sequels, man.
restart the series, you know, retcon everything. Did they do it like all the X-Men movies or something? Like, surprise, this was all a different timeline. Like, people just like to do that shit and make money.
Oh yeah, that's true. I mean, I gotta say, like, even though like we praise Akira Toriyama, it's like GT, Super, what's canon, what isn't canon. I mean, with Super, at a certain point, it's kind of like enough with the transformations, okay? Like, enough with the transformations. We know by now. It's like, when Ultra Instinct was a technique, it was cool, but when it just turned into, like, Super Saiyan Silver, it kind of lost all meaning, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, and I like how you achieve it by like getting knocked the fuck out in the middle of a fight too. I mean, that's the so how do you get to this state? Well, you need to have you need to be like completely calm. Oh, like like comatose calm. Is that what we're looking for here? You know,
Yep.
and
It was badass though. It
well,
looked great.
yes, but I mean, the weird drop in of Jurin though is kind of like, okay, well, yeah, I guess this guy's got kind of a backstory, but I mean, you get this weird overpowered amoral character kind of dropped in the middle of a tournament at the very end of at the very end of the story arc, and then you have to learn all about this guy who basically raised himself on a moon. What the hell? This character doesn't make any sense. And the the dude with the mustache on his team, from
Topo.
Yeah, Topo was annoying as fuck. And then you have all of the Saiyan women from the Saiyan galaxy who are all overpowered for no particular reason.
Oh my god, yes.
That was weird.
I was gonna say I like Topo actually. He was I know he was kind of like your typical kind of boring character, but I like his build up. It was his build up to the end and his fight with Vegeta in his newer form or his upgraded form. I was like, that was pretty cool. He's sitting there throwing Hakais until he gets too tired, and I'm like, that was an intense fight. I liked that. I did like that a little bit. Yeah, and I found it more interesting than Jiren, even though Jiren was cool, but it was like his backstory was kind of, oh, poor pitiful me, It's like, okay, I get it,
Yeah, I mean, and finally Broly got the story he deserved a couple of years ago. Finally, when Akira himself got involved with Broly, we finally got the Broly we deserved. Yes. Say whatever you want, but it's way like Dragon Ball Super Broly is way better than the OG Broly.
See, okay, for me, Broly's my favorite Saiyan. So like the OG Broly's design, where he's just big and beastly and looks really cool. I go, that's body goals right there. That dude and like his insanity, just everything was so cool.
Might I introduce you to my Mexican drug store over the counter?
Yes, we'll talk about that afterwards. Yeah. But I really, really like the story that they went into with Super, and I hope they continue to go with that because that, he shows a lot more promise in that. When he gets Super Saiyan, I want to see him, I like to see him go nuts because he looks so cool. And his abilities are really neat looking too. Just destroy the world.
Well, they kind of weirdly foreshadowed that with the one female Super Saiyan character too. They kind of had her go beast mode and lose her mind,
Yeah.
A la Vegeta in the original Monkey arc before Yajirobe cut his tail off and all that shit. So yeah, I mean, there was always that element where Super Saiyan was controlled by external forces, and then finally you were able to transform based on whatever your particular individual trigger might be, whether it was grief for, Gohan and Goku, whether it was just pure rage on the part of Vegeta, whatever your trigger happens to be. I actually think that that's interesting that, there's an individual basis for all of those things. And then the second generation, the mixed Saiyan humans who kind of just picked it up a little too soon, that kind of added to the overpowering as the series went on of each of the individual characters as they were being introduced. So now we're like at cosmic power stage back before, you could possibly, win a tournament by knocking somebody out of a ring, in the very beginning. And then it went to, now you can summon a dragon that can, change timelines and reintroduce, universes that were destroyed by gods. Yeah. I mean, you're progressing to points where the fighters are turning into almost demigods, and they're not they're not relatable characters at a certain point. And
how much stronger can they really get when you got the strength of a god? And then it's like, what are they going to get as strong as, Grand Zeno? I mean, that's he's supposed to be the ultimate top most powerful thing in the world, and how are you going to get past that?
I just like the fact that that Goku convinced the Grand Zeno to make another one of himself so he could have a friend.
I love that. I did. I love that. I admit, I really love that. That was great. And everybody's freaking out like you got Beerus going, you can't even be nearby him, much less be looking at him. And he's just like, oh, hey, I'm going to become friends with this ultimate godlike being that's just this big. Yeah.
And I like how they make God basically the most overpowered and childish thing at the same time. So it doesn't have to have any morality because it doesn't need to, commiserate or have anything in common with us, which I think is probably closer to what God would be anyway. It's like, okay, well, why do I need to understand, these humans?
A recurring theme, like in a lot of like Japanese, not even animes, video games, like a lot of their messages is God and religion always turns out to be, if not the bad guy, at least definitely not the good guys.
Or it's just not it's not something for you, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It just basically says that, look, these beings are beyond our comprehension. So attempting to comprehend them generally causes you more discomfort and pain than it does to just go about doing what it is that you do in your life and not worry about the machinations of beings that are so much greater than you. It's like this conversation comes up all the time on Twitter now about are aliens among us? I'm like, well, if aliens are among us and they were, capable of interstellar travel, we would be about as interesting to them as like bees are to us. Okay. We would, they would just be observing us and looking at us like, oh, okay, well, what are these fascinating, apes doing now, trying to get off the planet and in these rudimentary rockets and shit,
little foil covered boxes for the moon landing or something.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, well, isn't this cute? They would have nothing to say to us or offer to us, or we would have nothing to offer to them. I mean, it would be like, us looking at paramecium and saying, hey, what's the meaning of the world? And they're not going to be able to tell us, and we're not going to be able to relate to them enough to be able to learn much from them either.
You're not that important.
Well, it's not even that you're not that important. It's that you're not that evolved. You wouldn't know anything about them, and they would know even less about you because of the order of thinking that they would have accomplished at this point beyond what we already have.
As a species, we're pretty arrogant in that regard, though. We assume all aliens are going to be bipedal and fly spaceships. We assume God is an old man in a throne having human-like emotions and opinions about the choices we make in our lives. Like, we imagine everything is like us. We're kind of, I don't know. I don't want to say maybe arrogance is wrong. We're very self-centered and have a limited imagination as a species.
Yeah, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. It's that we have perception that's limited to our experiences, and that only seems fair to judge things based upon that. If you go much beyond that, then you're just conjecture about everything. But yeah, I mean, when they talk about God creating man in his own image, I think more than anything, we've created God in our image. We've taken all of the most positive things that we can imagine about ourselves and then multiplied it by however many factors and then ascribed it to something on the outside of us and saying that, well, that's our ideal, us, but just a lot better, and that's kind of where we've gone from that.
But then we subscribe like a judgment figure to God too. We placed a human-like being in the heavens, and then he has opinions about us and punishes us for deviating from what he's dictated when we've humanized him. Like, I don't know. It's like if he's human-like but also our judge, like that's a very strange role.
Well, the Old Testament in Judaism is really hilarious because it literally paints God as like some petulant, very immature, all-powerful being who just holds grudges against people who behave poorly. And I really don't think that would be the the most important, daily thoughts on the mind of something that can be all places at all times and is all powerful and all knowing. I just can't see him behaving like, a ship poster on Twitter about the behavior of other people.
God is cruel.
Well, as far as we know, maybe Abraham was schizophrenic or something. I mean, you hear his voices that tell him, "I'm God. Cut the tip of your penis off. Murder your son." I mean, that's what schizophrenic people do, right?
Well, kind of, and then have kids with your with your slaves, and then not recognize that person, and then that ends up being a completely separate religion apart from you that threatens.
That was Sarah's fault. She was jealous she couldn't get pregnant, and she said, "I demand you send Hagar and Ishmael off into the wilderness." And Abraham was like a cuck or something, so he agreed. And now they're Muslims, and look how that turned out.
Yeah. I mean, it's really.
If he said, like we said, "Bitch, shut up." There's a whole conflict in the Middle East. They'd be a superpower. They'd have all the oil. They'd have this they'd be a monotheistic, ultra conservative. The Middle East would be a world superpower, except for fucking Sarah.
Yeah. I mean, Abraham listening to Sarah, exactly. But I think your point is well taken, and the fact that all three of the major religions basically centered around this dude and his dick is very intriguing.
Leave it to a woman.
Abraham was the original patriarch, and the second he went cuck, everything went downhill.
Yeah, he started listening to all the women he had kids with instead of the other way around. Yep, pretty much. So.
Oh, wait, do I have that here? Do I have it? I think I have it. Okay.
Do not, I repeat, do not listen to women.
Never change, Shu. Never change.
Oh, Shu blocked me a couple of years ago when I when I told her that I appreciate what she has to say, but as a 30-year-old living with your parents, maybe you should move on from behaving like a teenager, and she blocked me. So, but
I don't know what you guys do to piss off half of Twitter. Hardly anyone blocks me.
I know. I was surprised to see. I was going, okay. I don't even remember what I said. I might have said something snide or sarcastic. That's probably what it was, and she took it seriously. So, again, lesson learned: don't take Twitter seriously, people.
Yeah, I just drop in on people sometimes. I told what did I say to Naval that the fortune cookie company wants its printer back or something, and he blocked me immediately. But it's all the platitude people that I ended up pissing off, and that was fun. And then let's see. Illimitable Man. He and I have hated each other since the Reddit days, so he blocked me early on, so that was fun.
Is he still doing deep dives in the books, or he move on to do other stuff?
I have no idea now. I haven't had any contact with him in over 3 years, so my timeline is cleansed of insufferable man. I'm happy about that.
Well, I made the mistake of tweeting out that Fresh and Fit and Candace Owens were a bunch of grifters, and I got a bunch of their fans in my mentions.
Dude, I saw that. I was laughing so hard.
So, of those three, which one is the clout, and which one is the two blacks? Just asking.
Oh yeah, that's my turn of phrase. Yeah,
that's a good one.
Two blacks, one clout. Yeah, that's my name for Fresh and Fit. Has been for years. Yep, it's obviously a take on Two Girls, One Cup.
Yeah. I know, but since now you have three of them, it's which one is the clout?
Well, it's it's funny because when you get into those, I don't know if you guys have much interaction with the Hotep community and such, but they're all up in Candace Owens' business because she married a white guy, a white British guy. So,
well,
for the longest time, I actually thought Hotep was his first name. I didn't know Hotep was a title.
Me too. I thought that too. What is this guy?
I thought he was a Mexican guy, Hotep Jesus.
Okay, let's not go there, people. Let's not go there. Unrealized Thoughts for $5. Thank you very much. Unrealized Thoughts. Jesus. Anime was accessible through tapes and TV, eventually new type magazines. Pops showed us Akira when we were little. I hope not. Anime is everywhere now. Kids will never know. I hope you mean the writer and not the movie Akira, because if you saw that when you were young, which I partially did, now that I remember, but
it is everywhere now. Like all my daughter's friends like watch anime. I mean, they're like theater nerds that are a little bit on the nerdy side of school, but like they hang out. Like I used to watch anime with my daughter, and now she watches it with her friends, and so I have like no one to watch with.
Well, if you get them to watch Grave of the Fireflies, maybe they'll stop altogether and they'll never watch it again.
But might I like this will be Ryan? You can cut this up, but fuck you for recommending that film to me, Ryan. Fuck you, heartfelt. Really, he's like, we were talking anime as well. He's like, oh, Grave of the Fireflies. I was like, yeah, it's a sad film, but and I watched it. I'm like, oh my god, this goes way beyond sad. No, fuck you. Yeah. It's like, oh my god,
yeah,
it's terrible. It's a great film. It really is. It really is a great film. It's well animated. The story is absolutely amazing, but that gut punch.
It's great. Like Pan's Labyrinth is great. You don't want to see it like ever again.
Pan's Labyrinth, I still don't understand.
Oh well, I saw Pan's Labyrinth like right after my daughter was born, so I'm like, oh god, it hit even harder because of that. It's just that was a tough movie to watch at that time. But yeah, Grave of the Fireflies, man. Yeah, how do we make a really, really entertaining movie about nuclear fallout? Hey,
we have these two kids here. What could go wrong?
Yep, exactly.
I'll stick with Godzilla.
Gojira.
I still haven't seen -1.
I'll stick with the Looney Tunes.
Who here has seen Godzilla -1?
Oh, I loved it. It's really good.
Nice.
I still want to see that. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see it. I mean, I saw Dune 2 last week, which I thought was pretty good. I don't know if you guys want to go and see that, but I've not seen Godzilla -1.
In all honesty, I don't like the last movie I saw in theaters was Barbie, and in general, I don't like the movie theaters anymore because you can just watch it anywhere you want if you wait long enough. So why would I give an industry that hates me money?
I was actually surprised how cheap the IMAX tickets were for Dune. It was $11. That was it. And they've like revamped all the movie theaters around now. They got like the reclining chairs and the really big ones with like the heated seats and such. So I mean,
but that's the times now. Like, the Chintzy AMC movie theaters, you pay $5 and like everything's sticky. Like now movie theaters are family destinations. They serve you food and beer and stuff, and like so you have like the reclining seats and all the leg rests and everything.
I remember you were allowed to smoke in movie theaters. I went to see Pokemon the film, and my mom smoked. She was sitting next to me smoking. I remember that. The 90s hit different, man. The 90s were different.
I remember my mom dragged me to see the Yu-Gi-Oh movie with two of my friends, and I'm sure that was torture for her to sit through. But we had to get those limited edition cards that they only sold.
Yeah,
tickets through the movie.
Which one did you get?
Oh, I got the Blue Eye Shining Dragon immediately. I'm so lucky.
I traded the Blue Eye Shining Dragon for this pile of cards. And I traded it with the kid. I'm like, no back trades. And I just walked off. It's like,
I thought they gave you all of them at the movie because I have all of them. I only saw it one time. Yeah. All the cards or whatever. Because I have both the Sphinxes, the Pyramid of Light, the Blue Eye Shining Dragon.
Those weren't the cards you got at the theater. At the theater, you got either Blue Eye Shining,
Sorcerer of Dark Magic, Pyramid of Light, and
I had those.
They had a fucking a complete loser card in there.
And Andro, Sphinx Talea, and Thinian or whatever, or Thane the Dark
that was the movie pack.
Yeah, there was a pack, and then there were actual cards they gave you in the movie theater.
Really? Okay, because I have all of them, and I'm trying to remember how the heck I ended up with all of them. Then, because
was the fourth one Magician Valkyrie?
Sorcerer of Dark Magic. It's like a 3200.
No. I remember that one, but there's a fourth.
Yeah, it's Pyramid of Light and Wanapon. And Wanapon, throwaway card, fucking useless. That's like a worse Karibo.
There was let's see, movie exclusive set. There was a Rare Metal Dragon, but Return from the Different Dimension, Pet in the Dark Clown, Inferno Tempest. I remember using that one. Familiar Night, and then the Three Sphinxes.
Yeah, it was like the movie pack. Yeah.
I wonder how the heck I got it, because I remember
I got that pack too. But
do we want to get into any red pill lessons from all of this? Like, have fun, guys.
Crap,
have fun.
we're a red pill podcast. Shit.
Oh my god, I don't think we are. We need to yell at somebody.
I don't know. Like, what's the peanut gallery think? Like, they prefer regular nerding out as opposed to, like, this is how you score with ladies.
Disregard women, acquire entertainment.
Here's one. I mean, Goku could go off and do whatever, and because of his status, Chi-Chi would do whatever for him. So whatever she might say, or how angry, quote unquote angry she might get with him for whatever he decides to do. She's ride or die. She's never going to go away. So, I mean, there's a lesson there too, that a guy who just doesn't care, he's on his purpose, and, he's genuinely, a decent human being is going to do well with women. So, because, I mean, he still has all of his, orbiters too. All these other women who ended up with other people would still drop those other people. It's the same thing with
Vegeta. You think Bulma would drop Vegeta?
I don't know. But I mean, it's the same thing though. She's interested in him because of his, because of his demeanor and his strength. Not because of money, obviously, because she has all of it.
Yeah, Vegeta did best. He married into money. It's like, oh, you know what? I'll just marry the richest woman on this planet. Done.
Well,
Dia Parades has such a good skit on that.
Yamcha, an excellent lesson too. Basically the red pill should be Vegeta holding, his kid with Bulma, next to it a picture of Yamcha when he got killed. In the one scene where he's face down and his corpse is there in the dirt.
Yeah. There's a statue of that. Did you know that?
Of Yamcha's death?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Let's see. There's even a Funko Pop of it. Let's see. Oh my god. No, I meant a figurine statue, but apparently there's a real statue. Like, what the hell?
I was gonna say there's a Funko Pop of it too, which is funny too.
Oh my god.
There we go.
That's hilarious.
Let's see. There we go.
Hey,
yes.
That's the one I'm looking at. Yeah, he's got smoke coming off him. Oh my gosh!
Don't be this guy.
Don't be this guy.
Yeah, he's the cautionary tale of the whole series.
Don't be Yamcha. Don't be Yamcha. But apparently there is. We are a professional podcast.
But I mean, the human Krillin, he got the android. Make a joke about a
sex doll.
Yeah, about to say doll's there. Yeah,
you put that real doll down right now.
I want to see that in person. Oh, that's good. I wonder how many people have taken a picture laying down in front of it.
Yeah.
Yikes.
That's hilarious.
Red pill lessons from anime. Don't be Yamcha.
Yeah.
Vegeta.
Related to that, Studio Ghibli's one of their animators and also one of their music producers they were in a conference with an AI company who was showing them how they could draw some of their scenes, using AI and create, shorts and that type of thing. And both of these guys were like completely appalled by it. I mean, they were like genuinely disgusted by the whole thing, because they asked them, they said, well, why would you ever want to introduce something like this? Well, because we can make it faster. They said, but do you understand that making it faster doesn't make it better, and it doesn't improve what it is that you're trying to do, and it doesn't insert you're the creator's soul into anything. And like the kids were like completely dumbfounded by their response, like, well, no, because we're coders and we're not artists and we don't understand that train of thought in any way. And the takeaway from it was that the two older, creators were just completely disheartened by the whole presentation and the fact that they thought that it was a reasonable facsimile for what artists create on a daily basis. So I found that to be refreshing in a way.
Yeah, I mean, the next generation, is going to be a whole bunch of people who their art is going to be training data sets and prompt engineering. And I write a good prompt to get a picture I want out of some hodgepodge of crap that already exists. It's a sad direction.
Yeah, I mean, it's the derivative of the derivative of the derivative after a while, and you're going to be digging down to just everything is going to approximate photography after a while, whether it's photography realistically or photography surrealistically. It's still not coming from the brush. It's coming from someplace else. It's coming from the pixel.
Yeah, and I could see like the use for it. Like, I'm a dude, I can't draw. I don't want to copy someone else's picture and get copyright struck. I want to get an original drawing made, by a computer, just so I can put it on my website, and have something cool. I could see like the utility for that, but then to call that art, even so much as like replace actual art made from like human hands and minds and creativity and things like a piece of the soul, like you cannot do that with a computer. Computers do not have souls. That's been a point of many horrible dystopian movies and books over the years.
Yeah. Oh, and being the lawyers in the room though too, it just seems odd to me that the only thing that's preventing people from wholesale copying others is the law. Because literally that's the only thing stopping them. Instead of lifting things completely and calling it their own, or changing it in some very small way. Well, I really like that. I'm just going to appropriate it. I'm going to use it in a way to, further my thoughts. Well, great, but you didn't create it. So now you're going to ask this kind of third party tool to do something similar for you, and in hopes that it skirts basically around that. But you don't have the talent or the imagination to think of something that approximates it in a way that is original. So let's just use the engine.
I mean, look at the direction we're going, though, where like every fucking movie now is a remake, usually with some black woman in place of like a real superhero or something. But like everything is like a remake, and there's no new content coming out at all. Like even books, all like they just sound like the Star Wars story told from like a different point of view or something, and with dragons, like there's not a whole lot of new crap coming out. I think we're just kind of moving in that depressing direction. And if you think about it, people steal stuff all the time. Just like, I'm not going to steal your stuff because I wouldn't get away with it. But like, you make something cool in America, they're manufacturing in China 5 seconds later, unless you have boots on the ground enforcing that with the government. And people are copying more stuff than you'd think. You make a successful product and you sell it on Amazon, like a week later it'll be an Amazon Basics version of it. Like people steal crap all the time. So we don't hear as much about it because it's not usually like big companies like Apple and Samsung butting heads. It's like little guys just having their own invisible squabbles.
Yeah, we used to have that a lot in the golf industry. China would just take new clubs and clone them and shoot them into the marketplace. Same labeling, everything. Make it for 1/3 the cost, and just flood the market with the fake driver from TaylorMade or whatever, whatever hot club was out there at the time, just to
back when the Chinese were knocking off everything, there was like a strategy where you'd make some gizmo and you have like an extra diode off in the corner of the circuit board that did nothing, wasn't even like connected to the other stuff. And the Chinese sweatshops, they would just copy everything on your circuit board, so it had that like useless part there. And so say, we didn't copy it. You could point and say, what's that useless part even do? You totally copied it. I say people tried that, and it turned out China just doesn't fucking care, and they copied anyway. So like the gotcha didn't matter.
Correct.
Put it on Alibaba.
Nice. You guys want to wrap it up? Let's wrap it up.
Yeah, I gotta pee anyway.
I gotta pee.
Gov, where can people find you? All the links to everybody in their chat, by the way, but let's go around the panel. Gov, where can people find you?
GOV_Megatron on Twitter, and at Governor Megatron on YouTube. And
Nice.
That's it.
Hawk?
Yeah, it was a little quiet today because I didn't have much to contribute, but I do appreciate that all you guys, this gentleman had Toriyama had a deep impact on everyone's lives and many people in the chat. So that's awesome that you guys had a nice impact and got to share that experience. So good on you. But anywho, for myself,
appreciate you still coming on, man.
Yeah. But if you guys want to find more of my stuff, check me out on Twitter, or I could be found shit posting on people. And if you guys want to check out more of my political work, check out the Old Glory Club. And if that strikes your guys' interest, you can come and meet myself, TJ Martinell, many of other friends of mine down at the Old Glory Club national event in June 7th here. If you want to get your tickets at theoldgloryclub.com. Nice.
Dave?
No, you can find me on my YouTube channel. I'll put in the chat at Dave Andrus, well, DAV and then Andrus right there. Yep. I'm doing the Scar Thumb podcast every Sunday. Things have been doing well, and I just cut it up into clips. So it's fun just talking about video games and sort of cultural impact, and of course, some of the stuff, how it's being affected by modern day politics and women getting into the industry and ruining it. So it's fun.
That's what women do. They get into a space or an industry and they ruin everything. Chesty, where can people find you?
I shitpost on Twitter occasionally. I still have some blurbs that I wrote long ago in the trp.red archives, and you can find some of my crap on Reddit as well from way back when. But for the most part, I'm just watching everybody, always watching.
Always watching.
You can cancel your cable subscription. It's very entertaining.
That's right.
Let's see. Arch.
Man, so I don't know about Toriyama. That guy was like half badass and half weirdo. I mean, he didn't go to college. Like, even though his parents thought he should, he's like, I'm going to draw. I'm going to follow my dream. He kept saying, I'm going to, once I get paid for this, make my money, I'm going to quit. But then he started failing and flopping. So he's like, no, I don't want to go out this way. And then he ended up making Dragon Ball Z. And the guy was like socially awkward and shy. He didn't like appearing for interviews. He had an avatar he drew that like he would have, for interviews and stuff. But at the same time, he had a wife and 2 kids. I can't figure out if he's like total weirdo or absolute Chad. He's an interesting dude to talk about today. But yeah,
I think he's a Chad.
Anyway, I'm on Twitter, dumping on people. Pretty much, I run 3 monitors in my office, and if I don't have any work meetings, 1 monitor is nothing but like social media and crypto. So, yeah, if you see me on Twitter, tag me or something, say, please talk to me, and I'll probably ignore you. But if not, we can chat.
Nice. Thanks, guys. For me, if you're watching, you know where to find me. Hit the like, subscribe if you haven't, comment down below your thoughts of this show, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Cheers.
Take care.